Hey guys, this is Jake with P3. In this video we're going to show you how to install the display portion of your boost gauge or your multi-gauge into the vent of your Volkswagen B7 or B8 Passat. This is a B7 vent, and the B8 vent is almost exactly the same. It's got a gloss paint on it, and the slats have a little, different design going to them. They got an edge here when these ones are just flat. So the display process is the exact same for both of these, just very minor style differences between the two, and in this video we're going to use the B7 vent. So first thing we always want to do is verify that our gauge is working correctly before we do the install. Multi-gauge, you can just plug that right into the OBD2 port, start the vehicle up, and the gauge will start displaying information for you like so. The boost gauge is going to be a little more difficult. You just got to get it to a temporary power and ground and then give it an input on the integrated analog boost sensor. Once it sees vacuum or boost, it'll power up. You can just make sure that's working. So this one's good. We'll go ahead and get started. And on this, all we got to do is just take the face of the vent off, get rid of the two top slats, and then our display is going to sit in place of those two top slats like this. So I just use a little screwdriver. Any little pick or screwdriver will work. And just go ahead and start pulling these tabs back. Release them one by one and work your way all the way around. It's a pretty flexible trim. It comes off pretty easily. Nothing really fights you too hard on this one, as it fights me on the top corner there. Just keep working your way around. Each time you get one loose, just kind of work your way back and keep pulling it off. Sometimes it's a little easier than other times. Just keep working your way around. Eventually it'll come off. This one's got quite a few all the way around it. There we go. Alright, so we got our face off here. Just set that aside. And now we just need these top two slats out. And so this has a little bit of a carrier on each side, so it can come out as an assembly. They don't come out individually. And then all we need to do is just unsnap the top two from each side. This might be a little easier with some side cuts or some pliers, just to kind of wedge them out. And then this unison bar here that keeps all the slats in place, you can also either disconnect it like that, or you can go ahead, what I do when I do the installs is just cut them out just so there's no extra pieces in the way. So now we've got our slat assembly ready to put the display into. It's just going to mount in like so. And then what I like to do with these is take the cable on the far left side and then pinch it over. So now the cable wants to be all the way to the left side of the vent housing. This will keep it out of the way of the vertical slats as they go back and forth when you're directing the air. And then we can take this, open the air flap to the back, that way you can see through the vent. And then we're going to take the cable pink side down and run it to the far left, all the way against the wall of the vent housing. And we're going to fish it through until it comes out the back. Pull all your slack through, keeping the cable nice and flat. And then we got to make sure that our fork here that controls the side-to-side movement is lined up on this vertical vent slat with the pivot point in the middle of it. So make sure that's lined up. That should reach before the edges of your slat housing reach. Just want to make sure that's properly engaged as it goes together. And then it should just snap back into place. Make sure that it moves side to side correctly, which it does. Now we can put our trim back on. Just make sure all these tabs line up through the loops. They push through a loop and then go over a locking tab. So we'll go like that. Just work your way around and make sure all of them snap. I think this one has 10 tabs on it. Okay, so now that we're good there, let's go ahead and go to the back. And we need to make sure this cable comes out in approximately this location on the bottom, maybe like a ½ inch from the edge. And then when you're pinching it in place, close your air flap and that'll hold it in place for you. And then also make sure that the side-to-side motion works correctly. That'll verify for you that your cable's not bound up. And so now at this point at home, you can just fold this right underneath and then go ahead and install this in your dash. And when the plenum locks over it, It'll hold everything in place, and that cable will be fine. Air won't leak. You'll be good to go. When I'm doing the installs, and you can do this at home if you want, but it's optional, I'll just snip out a little slot here on the back where the cable passes over. And I'll remove just a little bit of material about the thickness of the cable. And then maybe flatten it out, clean the edges just a little bit. And then I'll take a knife, or you can just pull it away with your fingers, and I will actually separate the foam from the vent housing. Little arts and crafts time here. And then fold the cable around, make sure it's not twisted, and go in between the foam and the vent housing. Just like this. And then you want to pinch it in place. So now it's routed under the foam, and it's not going past the edge of the vent here. And then I'll even take a little bit of glue, dab it under both sides, pinch that in so it's locked into place. And then you can also put a little glue in between the foam and the cable. And again, all this is optional. I like to do this just to make your guys' installs a little easier when you buy them pre-installed. But again, completely optional. You don't have to do this. So now that we've got it all together, I'll just plug it back into our test rig here, make sure it's working. You can do this in the car as well before you do the final install on the vent. But this one is good to go. That is ready for install in the vehicle. If you got any questions about this install or other model installs, please let us know in the comments below. You can also let us know any questions or concerns you have down there. If you've got any general customer service questions, please send those to service@p3cars.com. If you've got any customer support, tech support questions, support@p3cars.com. And then please check us out on Instagram as well, @P3Gauges. Thanks, guys.